All right, I'm going over the last 2 days on metals. I'm gonna kind of start from the most recent and go backwards. Um, so right here, we have a weekly kind of continuation candle where we close through this candle three's low, right? Because we have candle 2, which is our reversal candle. Candle 3 expands, and then this candle continues, closing through the low. So I'm just anticipating this week to continue from this previous week's range. We do open up around previous week's range. You can kind of refine it like this, but you can call that EQ. So dropping to the lower time frames, if we were going to go lower, what would we probably go lower off of? Pretty much this high right here, which we end up hitting on Friday. So we kind of have our reversal framed for lower on Friday with this SMT break. Right, we have gold failing to manipulate this high, which is right here on silver. Silver failing to manipulate the high. And then when gold trades into it, we get reversal signatures. So here's silver failing to manipulate, then gold engages the high. What happens when gold engages the high? We enter a new phase of price. If you also look between the gold pairs, what do we get? A 6-hour shrink switch sequential. Yep, so it looks like this. TA is still on my charts, which is nice, but looks kind of like this. And this high was the SMT break that gold took. So we get a 2-stage and a shrink switch in PM. What do we notice about PM, right? It expands away, leaving gaps for the next session to continue from. So when Asia opens up this day, I'm expecting continuation pretty much from this range, right? The range PM session left. If we have a refined key level, we really only have one thing, being this gap, this hourly gap. So this is where I'd want to look for a continuation sequence. So what we end up getting is gold trading into this gap, creating an SMT fill with silver and the gold pairs. So if we look at the gold pairs, right, you guys are seeing that SMT fill. Hold on, I'm going to put them both next to each other. So you see how the gold pairs do not engage this high, creating that SMT fill. From there, if we go to the 30-minute, when we engage this high, what do we get? We get a strength switch within the gold triad. So if we look here, right, so what's up here? So we look at 1800s open on both assets, right? So this is 1800. So what you notice about these candles, right? This one is closing bearish, even though it manipulated into the gap, while this one's closing bullish. So this is a strength switch PSP. And then we also run the high. So it's a 2-stage strength switch PSP. We already have our reversal frame from PM. So if PM is a reversal, what do we expect from Asia? Gaps, continuation. So that's what we end up getting, right? And then for like my target, if we look at the 6-hour and we look at what silver engineers, right? So silver's PM session kind of comes down here and leaves this gap. So if silver was to go higher, it would be from this gap. Also forgot to add in, we're in like a daily universal model, right? So right here, we have internal liquidity. We kind of hit these lows, whatever you want to say. And then we're retracing into this gap, which is internal. We have a PSP with silver, right? Silver closing bullish, gold closing bearish. And we also have a SMT off this high when you look at the gold triad. So look at the gold triad. There's that SMT. That was the daily framework. I kind of just forgot to go over it. And then the 6-hour gap was where I wanted to TP, right? If silver's going to go higher, it'd be from this gap. And I had very good RR to the gap, so just take profit there. And then lower time frame. If you guys look at the 3-minute or pretty much any time frame where I entered, what you notice is this CISD super far. All right, so if I'm looking at this and I'm trying to get on sides, if I take this CISD, look at my RR to the low. Let's say I market execute and then put my stop on the bodies. My RR is pretty bad. I forgot what it was, but it wasn't great. Okay, to the 6-hour gap was about 1.7 R. Yeah, so instead, since the CISD is super far away here, I can drop to a lower time frame and just look for the same exact expansion signatures. So dropping to the 1-minute, looking at gold over here. Yep, right here. Oh, this is definitely not the most recent trade, but this is last night Asia. We get the CISD. And from there, like we have gaps. So I pretty much just market enter in this gap. Right here. I put my stop all the way on the wick high. I'm not gonna like play bodies or anything here, just because my R to the low is kind of insane. Right, I get like 7 something R to the low. Yeah. So that was last night in Asia. I guess we'll go over New York then, and we'll just kind of go in order. That would probably make the most sense anyways. So now we have New York on metals. So let's go back to 10 a.m., right? So what we notice is we already went over the logic for this reversal. And what do we do at the closest proximity key level, right? This 6-hour gap. We fail to manipulate it. So I would anticipate we're going to the next draws. And by New York session, by the time I'm up around 9 a.m., gold has already failed to manipulate this low. Same with silver. Has failed to manipulate the low. As you see, we've displaced far past it. And now gold is leaving a failure swing off this low. Right. Here and here, right? So we have failure swings off the low coming into New York session. So the only thing I can really anticipate is a continuation lower. We have had a lot of expansion though, so I'm a little bit weary about it, but we could see continuation in New York. So what we get is this 6 a.m. 4-hour kind of closes as almost a reversal candle, creating a gap. So if we're going to continue, where would we continue from? This gap, right? So what this looks like is not an SMT fill. So we don't get the SMT fill. If you look at silver, right? There's no SMT fill. So if there's no SMT with the gap, we demand SMT in the gap. And we get it sort of a different way. So if you look at silver here, you see how silver has this 90-minute gap? Silver actually trades into this 90-minute gap, creating an SMT fill with gold. Right here. From there, what do we get? A strength switch right at 10:30. So 10:30 opens high, creating a strength switch. What do you also notice about 10 a.m.'s low?